Thanks everybody for being here today. Participating in this ITS training. Hopefully it's a very valuable training for you all. And we're happy to host. So if you have any questions throughout the day about anything, ask the guys that know something about. So not me. Thanks. All right. Thanks.
Let's see. Just so everyone, Cliff Heise with Iteris will be running the show today. If everybody signed in, make sure we got that recorded. There's some name tags back there for you to make sure I call everybody by their right names as we go on. We'll go around for introductions here in a second. Phil, I just wanted to make sure everybody knows where all the facilities are. We'll
Sure. Philip Roth with American Structurepoint. Welcome to our office. Just some quick logistics. We have some soft drinks in a small refrigerator right outside. Meeting room here next to the comp here. We have some coffee here. And we have the restrooms are down the hall behind the elevators. So feel free to avail yourself. For those of you who are participating virtually, you miss out on all those goodies, particularly the restrooms. You don't get to see the flamingos or the fountains or the crystal. That's just what you get for being virtual. At any rate, let me know if you need anything to make your stay here. I feel like a hotel. Let me know if I can make your stay more comfortable. But at any rate, let me know if you need anything. I'd be happy to oblige. I am going to go down to the lobby and just kind of make sure if there are any stragglers that they know where to come. Okay, turn back to you. Thank you.
Is there a hotel service?
Yeah.
Yes. Wi-Fi access. I mean, I know I asked everybody to bring their laptops if you could. The Wi-Fi access is here on these cards on the table. And as we go along here, make sure that you're plugged into that, and we're going to be getting on that here after about an hour and a half. Want to go around the room real quick, just let everybody introduce themselves. Again, my name is Cliff Heise with Iteris. Start over with Andy.
Yeah, Andrew McGee with the Indianapolis MPO. I'm a senior planner there, and I am the project manager for this project for us.
I'm Jennifer Dunn, also with the Indianapolis MPO, and I'm a senior data planner.
Nathan Sheets, I work for the Department of Public Works, City of Indianapolis.
John Consider at ITS.
Matt Duffy, I'm an Indigo.
Brad Pease, City of Carmel.
Morgan Reinhardt, City of Carmel.
Alex Shaw with American Structurepoint.
Right, and online, I guess we can't hear you, but how many people we have?
We've got 4 MPO staff.
Okay.
Yeah, 5.
Okay, great. We can't hear anybody on the audio from the IPO, but Andrew's going to be relaying any questions that come along. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. We got a lot to cover today. What I'm going to do is walk through a quick ITS overview, just make sure we're all on the same page about what we're talking about with ITS. Then quick concepts and terminology on architecture. Then we're going to get into a lengthy talk about planning using architecture and how that leads to project development. We'll take a break for 10 minutes after that, and then we'll walk through the website, just to make sure you're aware of all the different components of that. We've seen it, you probably looked at it before, but I just want to make sure we're highlighting all the things that are there. And then we're going to spend some time with the Radit software, talking about the tool and how it's used for developing the project. And then how we will update the architecture, how we go through the change process. And finally, if we have time, got a few slides on TISMO process and what we look at, how this all relates, architecture relates to TISMO. So there's a path we're following with this. We're going from planning all the way into project development, project implementation, and there's a leakage that goes all the way through that. I think that that's one of the most important parts out of this training to me, for you, is that understand how this flows all the way from planning to project development. So we're going to jump into this. There are some training objectives that we want to accomplish today. One, understanding what ITS includes, then the architecture terminology and concepts. Kind of talk through a lot of these different parts as I did that previous slide. This will be hands-on training with Radit software. And that's why I asked you to bring your laptops. I think it'll be a more engaging thing, depending on where we are with time. Hoping we can stay on time with a lot of this. If we run out of time toward the end, if we get there, we may just all be doing this together. It's more of a kind of, here's a problem, go solve it type of thing, but we may just walk through it together to save some time. And if we get to these last, have the time for this TISMO, we'll do that. It's a short thing, but hopefully we'll be able to get to that point. All right, any questions before we get started? All right. So if you went to the workshop we did back in the spring, this will be a little bit of a repeat from the standpoint of ITS, but what is, oops, too far. So in the Indianapolis region, we have a lot of ITS already. Traffic management, travel information, we have incident management, we have transit operations. So there's a lot here already. We'll walk through each one of these. The traffic management, we have, NDOT has a traffic management center. Some of the municipalities also have traffic operations centers as well. So where we're collecting a lot of this information we're gathering from the field. As we go along here, vehicles are going to be providing that information as well. But it's about monitoring, understanding where the hot points are, issues are on the transportation network, and then using our management skills and resources to actually alleviate those problems. Law enforcement and first responders get involved when we have incidents, help us clear as well as who's your helpers, who's going to be out there to help clear the incidents, make sure we get things moving again quickly. And that's going to get us a lot into the TISMO operations as we get farther down the road. Traveler information, we have multiple modes of travel that we can select in the region. Transit, personal vehicles. We also have bicycles and now micromobility starting to make its way. So we have these different modes of travel, but we have also information. TrafficWise is one of those resources we can use to actually get information about the options that are available to us, and then help us understand what the traffic conditions are. We also have, Indigo has a website, so we start looking at planning your trip and making a mode choice. Again, transit operations with traveler information, that trip planning, but we also have different facets of that too, from fixed route transportation, transit to paratransit services are on demand. And then we have integration with the signal operations when we start looking at signal priority, making sure trying to get those any transit operations that are behind schedule, getting it back on schedule again. Freight and logistics, big crossroads here in Indianapolis with a lot of different freight modes coming in here from rail and as well as trucks. We also have truck parking facilities that are available and being put in place around the region to get those trucks in place to park and get the drivers rested. Then we have emerging technologies. Mostly here we got connected and automated vehicles that we see today. But we have things like artificial intelligence that are starting to come online as well and start to make some influence here with what we do and how we operate. This is about changing the landscape about how we're gathering the information. Now it's coming from mobile sources. It's no longer just going to be fixed assets out there on the roadside. It's going to be from these vehicles out on the transportation network. That brings us a different aspect in what we're gathering as far as data. The data is more granular. It's not just spot data. It's actually for the entire length of the roadway that we're actually pulling this data from. So that impacts and helps us improve safety, mobility, and the environment when it comes down to it. But there's a lot of services that we already provide with ITS today with the current technology that we were going to be duplicating again and making a little bit better with connected automated vehicles. But what this is also doing is giving us different capabilities that we don't have today that we can actually be employing to improve the transportation system. So it's not just an overlap, it's actually things that are available to us that are new. One of the things here too, and we'll talk about it again here in a second, all this data is coming from private sources when it comes down to these vehicles or people that are wandering around there on the transportation network. That information that we're gathering needs to be trusted. So security of the data is very, very important. Maintenance and construction is another aspect of ITS. We're gathering information about these different work zones that are out there, construction activities. Some of them are planned, some pop up all of a sudden. We got a pothole to fill, maybe there's a mobile work zone that's working. But that information is important not only for the travelers, so they can know how to traverse that area, but it's also important for those roadside workers, knowing that they're out there, be able to take a different route if it's necessary. But if we have to go there, navigating that work zone safely. There's also new technology, wearable technology that the work zone workers would have, that they can be notified that there's an incursion into the work zone. That's kind of a blossoming area of expertise that's actually being applied technology. But that's something to also consider here. Again, back on safety and security, the data that we're collecting is not just about PII or personal information. It's about the data being trusted. If I can't trust the data that I'm receiving, I can't really use it. So it's a very important part when we start getting into ITS and implementation, that not only do we have that information security and privacy, but sometimes the access to our physical infrastructures are exposed when we really start thinking about it. We have a lot of controllers out there, they have Ethernet connections in them. That's an access to the system. And physical security of those boxes out there is very important. So it's not just about new technology, it's about the technology we've always had. So that was just a quick, are there any questions about ITS, anything that anybody would want to bring up? I was just going to ask a couple of questions here. In the next 5 years, do you see your need for ITS deployment growing for your operation? Yeah? Do you have a plan for the next 10 years about how that's going to happen, where you're going to go? I'm thinking ahead toward new technologies that you want to be putting in place. Those are the key kind of things we want to start thinking about when we start thinking about architecture as well. As architecture starts to put that framework in place, but then when those technologies come along, we actually have a plan for it going forward.